Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. In today's video we are going to look at holdings and how to program them into the FMC and how to make the airplane fly them, as well as a couple of tips and tricks. We are on the Tulsi 3 Alpha arrival into Innsbruck, inbound to Rattenberg NDB, and since Innsbruck can be a pretty busy place, air traffic control is just now clearing us into a holding as published over Rattenberg. So let's have a look into how we're going to enter this. You can see the Rattenberg holding here on the chart. So it's 225 inbound, right-hand turns, and minimum holding altitude is 9,500 feet. Since there is no lag time given, we're going to assume 1 minute of lag time below 14,000 feet of flight level 140 and 1.5 minutes above that. I'm going to put the ICAO standard numbers into the video description so that you are aware of them and can read them up while you're watching this. So, let's then go to the hold page, copy the waypoint you want to hold at, and you also have a prompt to hold at the present position if you need to. So the 737 does not require you to hold over a certain waypoint. You can always use present position if you just want to hold somewhere. But we'll take Rattenberg NDB for now. So we're going to put an inbound course of 225. Verify that the correct turn direction is shown, so right turns in here. And the lag time is going to be 1 minute since we will be holding at flight level 130. Minimum holding altitude is 9,500 feet, or in here shown as flight level 95. Let's execute this. And now the holding is entered into the FMC. We can also verify it on the navigation display over here. The best holding speed is 209 knots, so let's slow down to this speed. There is absolutely no sense in holding fast. You want to conserve as much fuel as possible, and by using the best speed from the FMC, you are going to do just that. And under the present conditions, it tells us that we can hold for 1 hour and 9 minutes before we are reaching the final reserve fuel entered in the FMC. I'm going to show you this real quick. If we are on the performance index page, this is the reserves value that's being taken into account by the FMC to calculate the hold available. We can disregard the descent path unachievable message here. That's not taking into account the holding. So the FMC is always assuming that we might just cancel the holding anytime. Alright, so we are now going to watch as the airplane is entering the hold, and you don't have to worry about the actual holding entry procedure, so whether it's a direct entry, a parallel entry, or an offset or teardrop entry as the United States call it. The FMC is going to do that all on its own. If you want to exit the hold, you have two possibilities how to do so. You can either use the exit hold button. If you do that, it's going to continue flying in the holding until passing the holding fix, in our case here the Rattenberg NDB, for the next time, and then it's going to exit the holding and resume its normal flight path. But if air traffic control clears you to any direct waypoint, then you can also just take the next waypoint like this, put it on top of the legs page, execute it, and then the airplane is just going to proceed to that waypoint. I'm going to erase the direct here, since we want to stay in the holding for a short while. Something that we have to think about when we are holding is of course our fuel. You will notice that air traffic control should give you an expected approach time whenever the holding time exceeds 20 minutes. So if ATC simply clears you into the holding and doesn't tell you anything else, then you can expect to be in the hold for less than 20 minutes time. Otherwise, they should give you an expected approach time, which is the time where you are expected to leave the holding and commence your approach. However, be aware that not all VATSIM or ICAO ATC do this, so it might just about be necessary to ask them if you have any doubt about the length of your holding. Now let's quickly have a look into some other features of the hold page over here. Of course, we've got the lag time that defaults to 1 minute over here, or if you were holding at a higher altitude to 1.5 minutes. And we've also got the lag distance in case you've had a holding where you have to hold on a predetermined distance much rather than a predetermined time. So all of those you can enter over here. The hold available, as set, is the time until you reach the reserve fuel, shown over here, and the best speed is usually the flaps up speed, slightly increased. You can see it over here. It's, in our case, approximately 7 to 8 knots faster than the up speed, and that just results in a little bit better pitch, because all the turns might not feel so nice for the passengers. So the best speed in the holding is usually a tiny bit above the up speed, just to increase comfort. Now let's quickly talk about something when we have talked about the fuel already earlier on, and that is committing to land at your destination. For a practical example how to do this, have a look at my live stream video from Basel Bureau Airport to Rome Fiumicino, where we didn't expect too much traffic, and then we've got an unexpected holding, where we've already been rather close to our diversion fuel. Now, if we had to hold, and if we were close to our diversion fuel, however, if you're flying to an airport that has more or less a guarantee for you to be able to land there, for example, several runways, good weather, no impending curfew, then you can commit to land at your destination airport rather than diverting to the alternate airport if the time you expect to be in the hold does not exceed the time you have available, or rather the fuel you have available. So for a 737, the final reserve fuel, depending on your weight, is usually in the range between 1000 and 1400 kilos. For the 700 it's usually just about 1000 kilos. So let me show you what happens now if I change the reserve fuel in here to 1000 kilos. All of a sudden we get a hold available of 1 hour and 39 minutes versus the previous 2.1 tons that only gave us 1 hour and 4 minutes. So this is something that you can do if you have to, if you are holding but have a reasonable certainty to believe that you will be able to land at your destination airport. To give you an example, a couple of days ago when we flew to Fiumicino Airport on the live stream, that I can very much recommend you to check out at this point in time. In Fiumicino we've had 3 runways, we had CAF-OK conditions, the wind was almost calm, there was simply a lot of traffic. And by dumping our alternate and committing to land in Fiumicino, we've got almost 1 hour of extra holding time available. And then we've made our way into Fiumicino without the need to divert. So that's something that you should keep in mind when you are holding somewhere. Alright, the next thing to talk about is changing your altitude in holdings. So the ICAO standard vertical speed in a holding is 1500 feet per minute. However, it can be reduced to 1000 feet a minute. So we are right now at flight level 130. Let's say that air traffic control wants us to descend to 9500 feet now in order to start our approach later on. You set the 9500 feet, but don't use level change. Use vertical speed, because you want to fly as accurate as possible in a holding, as there might be other aircraft holding just below you. so be sure to use the ICAO standard values in the holding. Talking about ICAO standard values, the most important for you to remember is the following. In a hold below 14,000 feet, your maximum speed is supposed to be 230 knots. If for some reason you are not able to fly that speed and you need a higher speed, then you need to advise air traffic control as early as possible, because you might be leaving the protected airspace of the holding. Above flight level 140 until flight level 200, the maximum is 240 knots. And keep in mind, as I told you earlier on, the lag time for the holding, so the time that you're supposed to be on the inbound track, is increasing to 1.5 minutes above 14,000 feet. There are further limitations in place for holding up at higher level, and I'm going to put all of those in the video description, so be sure to have a look there for more details. So let's assume that our traffic control has now cleared us to commence our approach once we are passing the fix for the next time. Now we just click on exit hold, we execute it, the exit is armed. Now the airplane is turning back towards the fix, and once we overfly the fix, it is going to exit the hold. Right, we have 1,000 feet to go. Let's reduce our vertical speed to 1,000 feet a minute here to prevent Mawson's TCAS warnings. But as said, if you are holding 1,000 feet a minute is the minimum, 1,500 is the standard, and you should not exceed 1,500 feet a minute. So don't just bluntly hit the level change button, but think about what you are doing. So, let's quickly summarize what we've talked about. Entering the holding is easy. You go into the hold page, you enter the waypoint where you want to hold, or you enter present position if you want to hold at your present position. Then all you need to do is put the inbound course from the chart in, define whether it's left or right hand turns, and define the lag time. And do remember the default values for the lag times. 1 minute below 14,000, 1.5 above that. You can always request longer lag times with air traffic control, and they are going to accommodate you where possible. Remember how I talked about passenger convenience earlier on? You can always request a 2-minute lag time. That is going to make it much easier for your passengers. Whether or not air traffic control is going to grant it is another story, but you can always request it. So, to leave the holding, either press exit hold. That's going to return the airplane to the holding fix, and then you're going to leave it on the planned route, or just enter a direct and fly the direct. That is also going to remove the holding from the flight management computer. And this is pretty much all there is to say about holdings in the PMDG 737. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you on the next one.